Portrait lenses with a longer focal length are key in people photography if you want to separate the foreground, namely your model, from the background. And as a rule of thumb, the wider you can open the aperture, of course, the more shallow your depth of field will be, and the more you will have accentuated this separation of the foreground from the background. Here in front of me on the table, I have very likely the fastest portrait lens constructed for a medium format camera system, and it's the Fuji GF 110mm widest open aperture is an f2, and in this video I will explain the lens, show what this lens is all about, and I will also provide lots of sample images which I shot with that lens mounted on my Fuji GFX 100S. And now let's kick off the video. The lens is fully weather sealed and you can shoot it under all weather conditions. Looking at the lens from the outside perspective, it looks very minimalistic. There are no elements here. The lens has no optical image stabilization and therefore also no switches here where you can activate or deactivate the OIS. There is an aperture ring here which starts at widest open f2 and you can stop this down to f22. You also have the aperture automated mode here, and there is a focus ring, of course, which is very smooth but also has just the right resistance. And I think the construction of the lens is fully convincing, and I also like the minimalistic design, of course. There is quite some weight coming with the lens because it's about 1 kilogram you have to mount here on your camera body, and the filter size is 77mm, so not the cheapest type of filters you can purchase for a lens. The minimum focusing distance is 0.9 meters, so you can get actually quite close, and the maximum magnification you get on that lens is 0.16 times, which means the lens can be also used for close-up or macro type situations. Naturally, if you have a longer focal length like 110mm or full frame equivalent 87mm, you also get a more narrow field of view, and the field of view of that lens is 27.9 degrees. The optical construction of the lens incorporates 14 elements in 9 groups, including 4 ED elements, which means that the optical quality of the lens and the way it transports the light through the lens towards the sensor is very advanced, and the image quality coming from that camera lens combo is something of the best I've ever seen, and you will see yourself when we look into these sample images. The focusing mechanism incorporated in the lens by Fuji is very advanced, and you see this here in this little demonstration which I actually have from a website from Fuji. And if I want to test this here, you also see that it is a spot-on autofocus, but it is not as quick as the autofocus of some other lenses I've shown on my channel in other videos. And in particular, if I go back to the background now, you see that the focus will hunt forth and back a little bit. Have a look. See? But it is nevertheless quick, and clearly that it is not as quick and a bit laggy is due to the longer focal length, despite the fact that Fuji incorporated that special autofocus mechanism they promote on the website of this particular lens here. But I think using it in daily life is absolutely fine, and the autofocus is also sitting where it's supposed to sit, so it's a very reliable autofocus system based on the face detection autofocus system incorporated in the camera body of the GFX 100S. Let's now look into sample images, and let's look into bokeh, background blurriness, as well as focus tracking. Last point to mention before we end the video is that there is a massive lens hood coming with that lens, and clearly that extends the lens substantially, but it also helps to avoid light reflections you don't want to have later on in your images. If you like that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel, there's always more to come. Thanks for watching, stay safe and healthy, and of course, peace out.